Hello, I'm Kevin Burton, and I'm here to help my Francis Marion psychology class for child development. And what I want to do is try to help you do better on the quizzes. And by doing that, I'm going to show you some things to look for, some different ways I know it's helped me, things I've read over the years, and I hope this not necessarily my class, but for all your classes in the future. So, first thing is, I recommend not cleaning up your workspace. So many times, I can't tell you how many times I would clean my entire room just to get ready to study. And by the time I was starting to study, I was tired. So just plop your books down, put a piece of newspaper on top, a cloth, I don't know, go somewhere else to another part and just start. That's the important thing. You will need some sheets of paper. The first thing I recommend is it's a log. A great thing for me is it's called the Pomodoro technique, where I do, say, 20 minutes of studying and then I take a 5-minute break, or 25 minutes and take a 5-minute break. If I'm not real crazy about the material and it's tough for me to read, I may only go 15 minutes and take a 5-minute break. But I think that can really help you. We can talk about more of that in class. I use an app called Vitamin R. It's just been great for me, and it keeps track of everything. So here's kind of my log, so you can kind of see here from like 8:26 to 8:48, I was going to, kind of thumb through the chapter, and I'm looking for summary tables and just writing down stuff. And of course, I'm writing that down here on my sheet. And again, I'm allowing you to use handwritten notes for your quizzes. So that needs to be handwritten. It might be easier to type it in your other classes, but for obvious reasons, I would rather see you write it. Plus, too, writing's going to help you remember. I think it's 30% more. Well, that's just reading something as opposed to reading on a computer. So, anyway, sorry I don't have the facts on this. The other thing is I suggest is a notepad. Now, this is nowhere near actually. I've got a lot of notes. I'm actually going from a Microsoft Word document that I made up. So I'm like studying a little bit, and then I would write, and then I would type something in. But the point is, you want to have something on the side where you can jot a note down, because you want to stay on task the whole time. Okay, anytime you start to do something, it's going to throw you off getting back into where you were studying. The other thing I suggest is, if you'll notice here, I didn't use the backs of the pages. I would just use the fronts of the pages, because when if you're going through your quiz, you're going to get to a lot faster just using the front. If you got something on the back, something can get lost in translation when you do that. And plus, too, it'll help you remember where you wrote the materials, where you wrote it down on the page. It depends on how your memory works, too. We're all different. Also, I suggest turning off your email, your cell service, anything that will distract you if possible. Obviously, there are some things you'll need to you may have some emergencies come up or anything that you need that. But I think there's an app for your computer called Freedom. And what that does, it shuts off your internet. I mean, you cannot get on that thing for 20 minutes. I think maybe if you reboot the computer or something, but it's something that really forces you to stay off for an hour or anything like that. So that's as far as getting things set up. So just to kind of give you some tips, some things that I would suggest is, one is know your professor. So like in instance, I'm from Atlanta, and I moved here from Atlanta, and I look on page 18, and there's a thing, Our House, Decatur, Georgia. Anytime a professor might see something that relates to them, they're more apt to use it. And then just another, I'm sorry I don't have these in order. I'm actually going to probably make another video, but I want to get you something as soon as possible. The other thing is, when it says none of the above, I was noticing the quizzes, I'm not going to do that. That none of the above, that's mean. That is just mean. So if you see none of the above on a question, you can pretty much rule that out with me. I'll just tell you that. But not to say that the professors love that one, because it really does test if you know the material or not. A lot of times what I'm looking for is, I know it didn't seem like it on the last quiz, but I'm just looking to see, if you read, is what I'm looking for. So I'm not, and again, the goal of the reading part is just going to help you with the lecture. It's going to help you remember. things. And again, doing it on a weekly basis is really going to make a big difference for you. So the next thing, as we talked about, the italicized words, those are huge. So anytime you see an italicized word, whether they're trying to, whether it's a weird word like something in another language, or it's just trying to show, hey, look at me type thing. You definitely want to get the italicized words on everything. And then, and also too with me, I saw a lot of people just boom, go straight for all the above. I'm trying not to use those types of quiz questions. But again, it's not going to be an all the above unless it really seems obvious. Maybe I'm trying to give you a gimme quiz question. Of course, too, I've been in the boat where the professor says it's a gimme, and like, well, if I don't remember reading the material, nothing's a gimme. So that's something there too. The other thing too, I've got like our psychology textbook. It uses like I was looking on page 45, and in 45, it it says that where teachers are. It says that teachers are more effective. So that's saying something that is definitive. Like, again, it's a psychology book. So everything is like a could or a may when you're writing that stuff. You can't use that definitive language unless you really have, it's pretty much almost factual, a little bit even more than theory. So when you see something definitive like that, that's something you want to look out for also. And then again, anytime you see where the book talks about, it shows how this class is important. Something about it, I find myself with this class, you prepare and you work on it, you just want to share it, and then you kind of, as you're reading it, you kind of remember all the instances where you wish you would have known this. So I would suggest if it's basically selling the class, that's something that you really want to look for, if that makes sense. Again, we can talk about this more, and again, I'm going to make another one of these on Friday or Saturday that'll probably be a lot better than this one. Another thing is use page numbers. So I guess this note's actually for me. I will try to put page numbers on the quiz questions, okay? And then when you're making your notes, you can kind of keep track of like what page you're on to help find your answers a little bit quicker. I think another thing you can do too is you can ask your professor for page numbers also. Again, if you're reading and you can kind of get an idea, like if they say it's on page 18, and you know that they're talking about one thing, as opposed, I mean, I know I can't remember what's on what page, but if you're reading, say, from 18, your assignments from, say, page 16 to 70, and it says page 18, you kind of have an idea. You might be able to narrow the question down, especially if it's between those two you're not sure of. Where it is, it can help you as well. So page numbers are important, and that's something that you might be able to ask your other professors that might be able to help you. And then just some things about me. Again, just anything that has to do with diversity, race relations, you can bank on it with me. I mean, there's going to be at least a question or two, out of the 20 that are gonna have that. I just think that dealing with different races and how things are different. It's really important until it's like a lot of times people won't say anything, but they'll start to act different if you say something. It's called a microaggression, where you'll tend to say something you just think you're being funny, you could really upset that person. So it's something I'm really going to really stress. And then also too, you can see how in chapter 1 how we're getting a lot more diverse students that you're going to be teaching, or possibly a clientele, or whatever you decide to do. So again, I saw, if you'll look too on this book, there's several citations. I mean, I'm looking on page 19, and I see this Sherman. 1997. Whenever you see that, you're probably going to see a test question around that also. I mean, again, if you see something definitive in some of the other things that we've talked about. Another thing is bullet points. So you can look through the book, and every once in a while, I think that if you look kind of at the bullet points, there's some questions on our quiz that came from these bullet points. So, and again, just not that professors are lazy or anything. It's just, I mean, the bullet points just make it so easy to make a multiple choice question. And then just to kind of get started, as far as going over, the first thing I did was an overview. Okay, so I looked through every page, and what I did too, I even made notes. Again, you can kind of see my notes. So for 20 minutes, right here from 8:26 in the morning to 8:46, I guess I got through 18 pages. Now I definitely do not read that fast, and I just had some notes that I saw that looked pretty big. I tried to put, as far as like here it says, why, like some of the headings, like this why study child development. So that was kind of a thing just to kind of get in my head what I'm going to read later. And then as I saw some of these things like this pie chart right here, I thought that was pretty important as I was reading. And again, I am kind of reading through that too. I mean, I'm really skimming, but I mean, if I see something, maybe reading like the first sentence or so. So then I did, so you can see I went to 8:46, and then I actually took a 12-minute break. And so, and then I got onto it again from 8:58 to 9:12, and then from 9:20. But anyway, my point is, when I went through here, I only had maybe 3.5 written pages of just kind of the notes from that things that stuck out to me. Again, they're not really getting into it, but just some things that I want to kind of be prepared to look for. And then something I want you to do, and I promise I will give you some questions that are directly from this chapter summary. This chapter summary is pretty good. It's really good, actually, and it's just loaded with information. So by putting the chapter summary, now you can see what happened to me. I guess I got on, I guess it was the third page. So I guess 3 of my pages were pretty much almost writing down what was on that chapter summary. So then, after I get through the chapter summary, we've got the key terms. Now, what I did here is I wrote the key terms, and then what I'm doing, they were nice to give you the page numbers here. But another thing, what you want to do, so say, again, I only went through, because I wanted to get this out today. I only went through like page, just because I got sidetracked. I had a bunch of other stuff to do unexpectedly. But anyway, I got to, I guess, a page 15 or 16. So I guess about a third finished. I mean, of truly, reading and that type thing. Now, again, so what I would also do, I'm going to read all the way through once. And I want to read, through maybe at least a day before the quiz. Because what I want to do is I want to go back and reread my notes, get used to where that stuff is to help me prepare for those quizzes. And again, the more times you can kind of go through, look at it, it just helps etch memories in your brain that'll help you bring up that information sooner type thing. So then, I guess I started on page 5 as far as where I really started to dive in. And what I did is an outline. Sorry, looks like chicken scratch, but you see I've got my 1. And of course that is why study CD. Now what you'll notice here on this page, up top, I put the acronyms, like or abbreviations. So what you do, like I've got a big T for theory. It can be whatever. I do recommend you putting if you're going to use these, like I've got biological T's for theories. I didn't necessarily do it, but I would put it on every page, because if you're on your quiz, you're looking through stuff and you'll see this D, like what's D mean? And you can see it'll be right up top there for you. So then I get through, you know, again, I'll probably, again, I just wanted to get this out to you. Sorry to repeat myself, but again, as I went through, I looked through a lot of, anytime I saw a table, I would look at that table and the figures. I would find out what's different, what's interesting. And what we're trying to do is I'm just trying to get you to think like if this were your class and you're teaching it, what are you going to ask? I mean, what's going to help you know, what's going to help you help the students out in this class. Okay, you see something, hey, that's important. That's something that this student can use. So unfortunately, the way, you know, especially your generation, a lot of you, your generation is been trained is a lot of testing. I mean, these quizzes are so important. Maybe my generation a little bit, maybe a generation beyond me, maybe 10 years, people that are 10 years older than me, they just wanted to learn. They didn't really care so much about grades and quizzes or whatever. They were just there to learn. So, and that's fine, but I'm just trying to help you as far as you're teaching. I mean, they're really geared for quizzes, and it's like, I mean, it's kind of like choose your battles, but I know that quizzes excite people, and I guess they're fun if you do well, but it's that I feel like I'm kind of starting to ramble, but I feel like that took me through everything. Now, again, I mean, so the summary took me an hour. I read the 15 pages. That took me another till, where's my notes? That took me another, yeah, that stopped at 11:05. So not like another 2.5 hours. So I mean, again, when we talk about 45 pages of textbook, I mean, it's going to take about 6 hours to be ready, maybe like 7 hours or so of work getting ready. Again, the old thing is, though, it's supposed to be for every hour class, it's supposed to be 3 hours outside. So, again, it should be 9 hours anyway. So, that's something to think about, too. So, I would encourage you to actually, what I'll do is, it's going to be messy, but I'll go ahead and, when I put the announcement out, I'll attach this, really just kind of my notes for today. Then like I said, I'll clean that up and do something a little bit better this weekend. So I hope this helped, and I look forward to seeing everybody on Monday. And then again, you're going to have your chapter 2. There's not that many pages. I thought it was going to be longer, but I think that'll be good to where you don't have so many pages, to maybe get some practice of trying to read correctly. And again, I'm not going to make the questions too picky or anything like that, because you have a less amount of pages to cover. But again, just because you're reading half of it, make sure you read that chapter summary. Okay? All right. Any questions? Thanks.